Moving on to the back, on to problem number 10. Once again, I'm going to ask that you refrain from writing while you are watching the video. Copying is not going to benefit you in terms of your learning. The goal of this proof is to show that side AD, this bottom part, is congruent or the same length as the top part, side BC. I'm going to start by proving the triangles are the same, and then I can show the pieces are the same by CP/CTC. I can say that these two are the same because the triangles are the same. I will start with the first given, which is that AB, this side on the left, is parallel to CD, the side on the right, and I will mark that with arrows. That means that they are in the same direction, they have the same slope, they will never touch each other. That does not mean that they are the same length necessarily. Please do not assume that because this has an arrow, it also has a symbol marking it being the same length. That is not necessarily the case. So the first given was that AB is parallel to CD. If you're given parallel lines, you ought to be looking for things like corresponding alternate interior or alternate exterior angles. Many students at this point would like to add something like A being congruent to C. We cannot add these for this reason. While angle A is on the blue parallel line and angle C is also on the blue parallel line, angle A is on the bottom transversal, angle C is on the top transversal, so that they are on different transversals, I cannot add them. I need to instead look for angles that are on the same transversal, touching those blue lines. The transversal I'm going to use is BD, so I need to find an angle that touches BD and is also on the blue parallel line. In this case, it is angle ABD and angle CDB. These angles are alternate interior to one another. Because the lines are parallel, I can say that they are congruent. Alternate interior angles only work with congruence if the lines are parallel. The next given is that BC is parallel to AD. I'm going to use a different number of arrows to indicate that these lines are parallel to one another, but not to the blue lines. I'd also like to emphasize once again that the fact that they are parallel does not mean that they are the same length. That is the goal of our proof. Many students might try to say this because of this statement. Parallel lines only talk about congruent angles through alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding. They have nothing to do with congruent lines. I have to prove that triangles are congruent first in order to show that these pieces are the same. My third step was to add the other given of the parallel lines, that BC is parallel to AD. And I'm going to do a similar process where I add the congruent angles based on those red lines. In this case, angle ADB is the same as angle CBD. Those touch the red lines, and they also touch the same transversal, so they go together. These are in between the red lines. They're on different sides of that transversal. They are alternate interior angles. The lines are parallel, so I can say that they are congruent. So far, towards my goal of proving that two triangles are congruent, I have two sets of angles. I need one more piece. It is going to be this reflexive shared side in the middle. BD is the same size as itself. This is the reflexive property. At this point, I have enough information to say that the triangles are the same by angle, side, angle. And I have to be careful about ordering them. At the left, I'm going to say triangle A, B, D. And now I have to think about the other triangle. Going with A from the top triangle is C. In the bottom triangle, angle B is in blue. So I should look for the blue angle on the top, which in this case is D. In the bottom triangle, D is in red. So I should look for the angle that goes with it in red, which in the top triangle is B. Those go together by angle side angle. I'm going to look for my first angle, which is the blue angle set. Is that in my proof? I put it in step 2, that those two are the same size as each other. I'm going to look for the side, which I have marked in the picture. That is in step 5. I have said that they are the same size as itself. It is the same as itself. I'm going to look for the double angle, which is the last one. In step 4, I did say that is true. I have not excluded or missed anything from my proof. I have just completed the first part where I've proven the triangle is congruent. From this piece, I can then say, if the triangles are congruent, the pieces have to be the same too. Side AD, which is the first and the last in this proof, is the same as BC, which is the first and the last in this proof. These are congruent by CPCT-C. Some student may ask, well, here you had A first and then D last, which corresponds and goes perfectly with this. But here, we switched them. B and C got switched here. They're talking about the same side, so I could call side AD equivalently DA. It does not matter. They mean the same thing on the bottom here, which is true of the top as well. BC means the same thing as CB. You could call it whichever. I have had enough information to prove that these two are the same by CPCT-C because I showed that the triangles were congruent first.